Good morning, people kind. Welcome back to Fresh, Slick, and Mick, Windsor and the world's finest modern millennial bro down. We're coming to you live from our own individual homes with our own COVID haircuts, just looking like crazy human beings. How y'all doing today?
Well, you can't see me, but I have a full, beautiful head of hair, luscious long locks, and brilliant color.
That's something a balding person would say. Oh, I have this totally beautiful head of hair.
That's why you said it.
That's exactly why I said it.
Oh, I'm a dick. I'm sorry.
I was saying to Slick earlier, I'm like, yeah, everyone's complaining about their, I get my COVID haircut, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, my hair's barely grown. I'm just accepting it now. I'm so depressed.
I'm sorry, buddy.
Hey, speaking of that.
What is that?
Being so depressed?
Well, right, yeah.
First, I would recommend anybody listening to this go back and listen to our first episode on the topic, because we got into some good stuff there that sort of laid the base for what we're going to be talking about today, which is more things about depression and more ways to deal with depression and various mental health affects. But first of all, Slick, I didn't get to find out how you are.
Oh, I'm good, man. I'm exhausted. I'm absolutely exhausted. Like, just not used to working this much, I think. Some days are like 10 hours, though, like in the sun all day and stuff. So I'm just like, I think I just need like a whole weekend of sleep. Other than that, I'm great, though.
10 hours just a hack and darts straight.
Yeah, just like you need like 5 packs. It's stressful, man.
Jesus Christ.
I'm kidding.
Oh, goodness. Have you been enjoying your work?
I have. I do enjoy work. I enjoy going to work for the first time in a long time. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy. It's a good feeling.
Good. I'm happy for you.
Thanks, man.
It's a very good feeling, especially when you have a little bit of fulfillment. It makes it easier to go through the day every day.
Yep. Oh, 100%. Time flies.
So, on our first episode about depression, which had a surprisingly good reception to it, I was pleasantly surprised about that, because I didn't think that, I don't know, I guess I always think I don't do enough of the right stuff on these episodes, and man, it just, I like sometimes if I don't feel like we nailed it, I feel like we bombed it, you know?
Yeah, that's fair.
But I went back and listened to it before recording this today, and like, it's kind of good. It's kind of good, you know. We got some pretty deep on some stuff. We got some wonderful background into you, Slick, and I mean, it touched on a lot of ways that you can. No, it's not a dig. We spent some time on that. It touched on a lot of the ways that you can, fall from a place of mental health to mental unhealth. And most people think, you're just born like this. You're just born broken, and that's not really how it works.
Right, yeah. I mean, like, every case is different. You become broken at an earlier age, right, than, like, my mid-20s, which happened to me. But, yeah, you're right. I don't think anyone's really, like, born broken, yeah.
One of the interesting correlations that I discovered as I was reading, and this is something I've been pursuing anyway, because, the anti-vaxxers have this little vaccines cause autism thing, right? Whatever the fuck they believe.
That big flag they keep swinging around, yeah.
They have a flag?
No, I'm just meaning, like, if they had one, that would definitely be it causes autism. No, stay away. Yeah.
No doubt. So they've got that claim. And that has never been conclusively demonstrated. But what has been demonstrated to correlate, if not have a causation with autism, is C-sections. There appears to be, in an increase of C-sections, an increase in autism, because that's the only other thing that's gone up at all proportionally. So how this works when we draw it out is, Molly, go lay down, is your gut microbiome has a massive impact on your brain. So all those chemicals, things like serotonin, dopamine, whatever, norepinephrine, a lot of those aren't even made in your brain. So everybody thinks like, and that's why we have this approach to treating mental health with just pills, because you take a pill and then it goes right to your brain and fixes that chemical imbalance. That's what they've told us, right?
Yeah.
But even if you just step back from that, just take one step back, it's like, well, hold on. These pills have to go through my gut to get to my brain. So all the shit that they've ever told us about things in your body not affecting your brain literally can't be true.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And actually, it's 100%. Funny you mentioned, I'm glad you brought this up, because the study of it has really come so far that at my store, I'm actually starting to sell mood-based probiotics. So they're finding that certain strains of them are the causation for whether it be stress, anxiety, depression, etc.
That's amazing.
Oh, so the gut is an amazing area. It is so cool.
So some of this info, I mean, this is I was going to do this last, but fuck it, we're here. Some of this info is like really, really cutting edge. But if you've got it in your store, obviously well, not obviously, but hopefully there's something for it to stand on, right?
There's some validity to it, yeah.
Right. So that's excellent. So what have they told you as those products come in, Mickey?
Well, essentially, it's just without running the risk of repeating what you said, it's just that there are so many different strands of bacteria in our gut that the fact that for so many years we thought, oh, it's just for the digestion. We look back at it now and go, my God, were we so short-sighted? But I tell a lot of my customers, they go, they'll even ask me straight out, why is it so important to have multiple strains? And I tell them just plainly so, if I could go into their gut and pull out every single last one of one strain, they could actually become quite ill. So, bearing that in mind, those who have some sort of mental ailment or even just gastrointestinal ailment, they could be low in a particular strain of bacteria. Also, bringing up I don't know if you were going to bring up eventually, and I'm sorry if you were, they're finding that Parkinson's starts in the gut. So wow. They're finding that people who are missing certain or are low in levels of certain bacteria in their gut those who share that all seem to have the same problem of Parkinson's.
Wow.
That's
well,
crazy.
That to bring my point full circle, that correlates with what they've discovered in autism, which there is a noticeable lack of this one type of bacteria in the gut microbiome, usually tested by stool sample of autistic people. So, I mean, this is like crazy exciting to think that, a healthier gut system, and I don't know if it's a reversible thing at all, if you can help the brain, restore or regenerate. I'm not sure if that's possible yet, but they're tracking it down so they can arrest any degradation in someone with one of those conditions. And that's just one thing that hasn't even been really fleshed out yet. It's just like they've drawn this line and said, oh, take a look at this.
Well, and I don't know if you saw this in your research, but to add to it, breastfeeding is super, super important for that too.
Yeah, so with the whole C-section thing, as opposed to natural birth contributes a lot of the mother's microbiome to the baby. So a baby born from C-section has a vastly different microbiome than a baby born naturally. And therein comes that risk, so they think. Yeah. But I mean, I know I'm jumping to conclusions and I'm not a doctor and I just read PubMed sometimes. But like, it seems to make sense to me. And I find that very exciting, especially when we're talking about conditions that, really we've been shooting in the dark on so far.
Yeah. I mostly just want to add to it just for the breastfeeding part. It was a gentleman who discovered that there is for lack of a better explanation, because also I am not a scientist, there is a type of organism that lives in the milk ducts in the breast that actually will leave through the bloodstream, travel all the way down into the colon, grab that bacteria, and go back up. Why this is so fascinating and important is because for women's health especially, because my God, is their health system so much more complicated than ours. If women have issues with blood poisoning and sepsis, they can now trace it to why. Because if that essentially, again, organism of sorts, if it drops that bacteria in the bloodstream, they can become septic.
Oh, okay.
Is that a fact? What you just said about their systems being more complicated than ours, or you just like have not been able to find the clitoris?
I just mean so in the health aspect, but thank you. Mostly just because of my experience working there. Like again, obviously, well, maybe not to some, but I am. I'm a. Get fixed.
You got some weird work experience, bro.
Well, no, it's just mostly because, growing, I'm a guy. I know my body to the extent that I really do. But when women come in over the years and they tell me all their ailments and the shit they go through, and then all the products that I have to help with those things, I'm just going, holy fuck! Like, how did you guys do it up until this point? I always tell them that. I'm like, oh my God, and they usually find it pretty funny. What? It's.
How did you walk around with your complicated female body?
Well, no, it's just, honestly, like, if you're gonna be a fly in the wall one day, man, like, it's these women go through fucking hell, and it's just their bodies changing. It's crazy.
Okay, well,
I just want
that too, then.
But, and hey, which will probably will be coming up later into our talking about the particulars of depression. Let me tell you.
What? I don't understand anything that's happening right now. Just for the record.
I just went off on a huge tangent of just, I guess.
No, Mickey, I was here.
I know you're here for the tangent.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think we need a jingle for when I take it off the rails, because that was definitely one of those instances.
It was beautiful, though. Beautifully done. The most elegance.
Absolutely. So
Fresh.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. I was just gonna ask you, like, why'd you bring all this up at the beginning? Like, autism and everything.
Because so autism is related to, they think is related to C-sections versus natural birth.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that is at all important, because, you get a happy, healthy baby one way, you get a happy, healthy baby another way, but it's not the same. And that goes to what I was just speaking about, getting those bacteria and other organisms from the mother through the birth canal, or, coming out relatively sterile and getting whatever's lying around the hospital on skin, which is not how a baby would normally receive those things first. So that's just one thing, and it can set a person up potentially for life,
Right.
Not to condemn that person or anything, but it's just one thing, and that is only just beginning to really be studied. So
that's insane.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane.
Makes total sense.
Of
like,
course,
when you look at the black and white of everything, you're just like, why did it take so long for them to figure all this out? Like, but anyway, go on.
It pisses me off because people talk about how science is so flawed and everything. Science is a method to detect flaws, So yeah, I guess by its very nature, it's one giant flaw. It's the human race admitting its mistakes every step of the way.
Right.
But people just want answers, That's how you get fucking anti-vaxxers and flat earthers, like, that whole "you can't explain that" thing. But that's really how they talk.
I just say there's a bunch of science behind it. It's like my answer to everything. How does that work? Oh, there's just a bunch of science behind it, man. Because there is.
You've been doing that for 50 episodes now.
I know. It's worked great. It's worked fantastic.
Fucking hell.
Well, the good news is there's a bunch of science behind it.
Yeah, exactly. And math, probably.
Oh, God.
Probably math.
See, though, that's going to be a Trump answer one day real soon. Just so you're all aware, we're putting a lot of science, but the best science America has to offer is behind this, and math. I've seen it. I know
Tremendous
math.
science.
Tremendous science. I know.
I know
this.
math. I know math.
Nobody knows math better than me. Oh my god.
Ooh.
Okay. Brief aside, because I have a bet running with a guy at work. This fucking idiot's gonna get back in, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
Probably.
I think so too.
I don't know why I think that, but I think people.
Because it's a country full of stupid voters and stupid politicians who do things like make Joe Biden get the fucking nomination. Like literally, almost anyone was better.
Yeah.
What, the Sleepy Joe?
It's not even the sleepy thing. It's like he looks like he might actually be dead sometimes.
Yeah, no, I know. Have you seen like the compilations online of shit he just says?
Oh God, no!
Like he's just in the middle of a rally, and all of a sudden he just goes, "Hey, Corn Pop, he's a bad dude." And people are like looking around, like, "What the fuck did that guy just say?"
Shit.
It's like, if you can't vote for me, vote for Joe Biden's husband. Like, what? Dude, you gotta YouTube it, man. I'm not even joking. It's insane.
Did you see him on Charlemagne the God show?
I heard about it.
Where he said, "If you don't vote Democrat, you ain't black."
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
Wow.
Dude, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's just it's. I don't know, man. It makes me tired because it's just a reality, one big long reality TV show right now. It's just insane. So
reality TV star calling the shots.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. Anyway, tangent.
Anyway, so Mickey, you were looking at something really interesting when we discussed this in our preliminary last night, which is why do Canadians have higher rates of depression to other people? And I found that a fucking fascinating question. So hit me with some shit, dog.
Well, if I may, I'd like to do a little precursor to that and then really kind of get into the why the fuck. So I decided to look up the most and least depressed places on the planet right now. And why? Because obviously the why is going to be very important very soon. So the most depressed country on Earth at the moment is Afghanistan. So for all the obvious reasons, literally, I looked at it, I'm just like, so you read through it and you're just going, yep, war, yep, poverty, yep. It's everything is there. So the least depressed country in the world is Japan. So they weren't really giving me much as a why, so I kind of really had to dig a little bit deeper into that one. And essentially, it's because they are one of the most economically prosperous countries on Earth. So the almost black and white is essentially if you are not an economically developed country, you're going to have high rates of depression. It was just so in your face about it. But looking into kind of the more middle of the road or even still doing half decent countries, a lot of the issues are unemployment, low income, high income inequality are at the top causes of depression, especially for people between the ages of 16 to 65 who suffer at the much higher rates. So the working and soon to be retiring ages. So it really kind of a lot of time just boils down to like stress and money. But why the fuck are Canadians so depressed? Because for the most part, like we have a pretty good system going on here. Like, yeah, like our unemployment rate's not the best, but it's been only getting better to one degree or another.
Hold on one sec, bro. Can I ask you how they measured depression? Because this literally just sounds like all economic factors. So, in which case, I've been very depressed for a long time.
Yeah. So they a lot of it they actually based on life.
Wait, is this oppression or depression?
Yeah, well, you'd think that, right? No, a lot of it, how they were measuring it was the how depression affected life expectancy. Just depression, not necessarily the conditions, like in Afghanistan, obviously, but that's how they were measuring it. So essentially, those I don't know how they got these numbers, especially in Afghanistan, when a big chunk of people are dying from war and poverty and hunger. But essentially, they were finding that those who were just dying of whatever causes it was stress, anxiety, and depression. Like that was literally killing people, or taking years off their lives, almost like smoking.
Wow, right
love
for
you.
the throat.
But I love you, man. I hate to lose you. So
Wow, it's dark.
I know, but I just want to tell you how I feel in my heart, man. So that's kind of how they're measuring, which I thought was kind of interesting, that method. But I mean, well, that's my answer for you. They measured it based on how much it would literally reduce your life expectancy.
Okay.
It was interesting. So
but I just feel like there's things besides depression in Afghanistan that might reduce your life expectancy.
I know, that's why I was like, it was a very weird way of doing it. It seems like, oh wow, look at people in Japan are living so long. They're very happy. People in Afghanistan aren't living very long. They must be sad. I was like, well, you guys are the experts, so
Mickey, can we get like a top 5? Like, did you get a top 5 worst and best places? Like, or did you just get the one?
I just kind of focus on the couple because the worst ones were just essentially Afghanistan and the surrounding countries.
Oh,
Like
all right.
so, though one was.
Hey Mickey, what countries surround Afghanistan?
Oh no! Oh no!
Since you brought it up,
don't I do not know very much geography.
Probably said like Australia. Like in the document, probably said like Australia.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure the country of Asia is right next to it.
Yes, the small country of Asia.
Yeah.
But one of the countries that actually kind of that was at the bottom of the list of the worst in terms of like not as bad as the worst. The Netherlands was on there, surprisingly. But their biggest issue, apparently, is they don't do well with seasonal depression. They have a very severe problem over there with that.
Huh.
Yeah. Apparently, all the other Scandinavian countries do just fine to one degree or another, like exponentially better. They still have that problem, but it seems the Netherlands really gets hit hard by it. But that was
I
interesting.
wonder why.
I have no idea. It didn't say. It just said like they have that was their problem there. But anyways. So, Canadians, 6.5% of youth are depressed, 7% of seniors are depressed, and women are twice as likely to be, or actually diagnosed twice as often more than men.
It's because they probably go to the doctors more.
I mean, with a lot of the women that I've been talking to lately, especially about their health alone, is they are constantly dismissed by doctors.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess it's not surprising.
Now, that's just from my experience with dealing with them directly. I didn't necessarily look too much into the reason why they were being found to be more depressed than men. And I'm sure there's a plethora of reasons. I don't mean that in a dick way. Just, there are reasons. But a big problem is that 80% of Canadians rely on their family's physician for mental health problems. And they have extremely limited services. Obviously, right?
Okay.
So I went digging some more, and I can only find a list of causes of depression, and those tend to carry to other countries that were worse off economically and socially, and et cetera. So I'm like, but what's the cause? In 2018, Dr. Patrick Smith, National CEO of CMHA, he said this: "We don't have a universal healthcare system, but a universal medical system that doesn't guarantee access to some of the most basic mental health services and supports." It's literally our access. One of the essentially the biggest reason Canadians are depressed is the serious lack of access to help.
No
Holy
shit.
fuck.
I mean,
it just like that hit me hard. I just said, "Oh my god!" Like, here we are saying, "Look how great we are in our healthcare and all this stuff," and then mental health is once again falls by the wayside.
Yeah, yeah, it's not really paid attention to, right?
Yeah.
By comparison, people can look and see traumatic injuries, and until someone snaps and does something horrible, mental health can be very, very subtle.
Yep.
So yeah, it's more chronic and long term than acute and severe.
And I'm glad you said it that way, because Dr. Smith continued with, we cannot get the help we need, and most of these can be prevented. So it was a really interesting little bit that he was saying with that. That, again, for us to reiterate that these can be prevented. These late stage issues that seem to come up can have been prevented from the beginning.
So did they talk about what those preventative measures were, or is it just a matter of us not having the proper safeties in place as a society?
Safeties and, of course, the access. It's not available to them.
What do you mean? You keep saying access. What does that mean?
So the help that Dr. Smith was mostly talking about was more like actual therapy and talk therapy and support and stuff like that. Because and later I'll get into it more about the prescription medication and stuff like that. That is not a problem per se. So Dr. Smith's position on it is we need more access to support mental health.
Okay. So
these things can be, so it's like, oh, I've experienced a traumatic event. My parents divorced, somebody died, whatever. I have nobody to fucking talk to. My family physician said, oh, okay, sorry about your luck there, boyo. Here's some antidepressants.
Right. So now I've had, I mentioned this last time, I've had a script written more than once for antidepressants for me, and I've never filled them.
Yeah.
Do we have any idea what kind of, what the rates are as far as that?
Like how often it's being prescribed?
Yeah, because I know that, typically doctor-patient FaceTime is very, very short. It's one of my personal beefs with the medical industry because I don't at all abuse it. Like, I don't go see a doctor unless there's 1,000% a problem. And I damn sure wouldn't go see my fucking GP if I was depressed. But some people only have that resource. And if your only resource is someone who's trying to get rid of you in 15 minutes or less, you can see how your standard of care would not be, adequate to bring about good change or a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah. To answer the question of how often, 2/3 of patients.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Wow.
Prescribed unnecessary depressants, and that's again a whole other issue with dependency and addiction.
Right,
2/3.
Because some of those drugs are highly, highly addictive, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Okay.
they're neurological. I'm saying this so fucking wrong, but they block receptors in the brain. They don't feel anymore. And some people get too many people get addicted to that feeling because they hurt so bad that they need to feel numb.
Are they? That's not how I understood it, man. Not so much an addiction to, avoiding the bad feelings or anything, but I think it's literally just chemically addictive, like alcohol.
Yeah, I guess I was just saying more so that's how it starts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it starts because you got some real problems, and they say, "Here, take a pill."
Absolutely, and I don't know if you guys are ready for this part yet. Some of them are not even able to be seen.
What aren't able to be seen?
Symptoms.
Oh.
Some of the symptoms of these depressions that they're not apparent.
Please expand on that.
Yes. So when we were starting this, I wanted to get some input from other people who have experienced depression in their lives, whether it be personal or from other people. And
Sure.
Actually, my sister brought up, she goes, you should look up invisible symptoms of depression. And so at first I was like, I don't fully understand. And the way I was looking it up, essentially physical symptoms of depression is somebody hurting themselves, cutting, whatever it may be, and stuff like that. But looking up invisible symptoms, and this is one of those things.
Mickey, pause
I'm
one
sorry.
quick
Pause
second.
it.
Slick, are you with us in real time here? You're not having any lag issues?
No.
Am I
Okay.
lagging?
Okay, good. I think the video's a half second behind, but I think the audio is fine, which is all I give a fuck about.
Okay. Well, you
Okay.
look good. You got both of you guys when you guys speak. It's coming in clear for me. So
That's really all either of us gives a shit about.
very good. You guys both look beautiful.
Thanks, bud. And this
Go on.
picture of you from 2011 looks great too.
I don't even know what the picture. Is it me winking?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I love that picture. I miss that mustache.
All right.
No.
Tell me about invisible symptoms of depression.
So I thought it was a little interesting that they call them invisible for some of them. Like right at the bat, they're saying appetite and weight changes. Now
Pretty visible.
it's pretty visible, but at the same time, if you're not seeing the person constantly, let's say if I don't see you for a couple of weeks at a time, and then let's say you've gained weight or lost weight, it might not click and go, oh, whatever. That's he just doesn't have time to do what he wants to do. Changes in sleep habits. It's a very invisible symptom of depression, anxiety. Quick to anger and or irritable when once not. Though I get a pretty strong reaction from Slick there.
I can't imagine you ever not being irritable.
Me?
Yeah, you.
I'm much better now, man. I'm
That's
so
true.
much better.
That's true. I should give you that credit. I won't, but I should.
Thanks. Thanks, dude.
Chemical imbalances. More or less, we kind of did brush on that. People take pills to kind of make them. No, not chemical dependencies. Chemical imbalances.
Damn it.
This one I thought was kind of neat because I think I may have experienced this myself. Physical pains such as like backaches for no reason that can't
Like
be
hip
traced back
pain?
to something like that. Yeah, hip pain was on there too. I kind of focused like a lot of joint pain, which was kind of interesting because you'd think it's just like arthritis and stuff like that. So yeah, physical pains and health disorders show up. Low sex drive, loss of concentration, and this one was so cool because I remember reading about this a while ago and I just jumped right in. Genetics.
Okay.
You can
How
be.
is that
Hold on. A symptom of depression is genetics. Oh, we checked you, bro. You got. Sorry, I'll try not to yell at you. You got genes.
Yeah, you got genes.
Genetics, man.
Essentially, you two and myself, our genetic
You two, the
code can be imprinted with our anxieties and depressions, and we could pass it on to our children.
Why? Why did they make that a thing? Why did the aliens make that a thing, man?
That's a bad idea.
But yeah, isn't that
Thanks.
fucked? You can literally set your kid up for failure.
There is a concept of this in I always fuck them up. I believe it's psychology called intergenerational trauma. So this has literally been known about before it was understood at a genetic level.
Oh well, and there you go.
Yeah, it's a real thing, and it's like you say, it gets imprinted on your genes. It's not even just like, oh, the baby goes through what the mother goes through. No, what the mother goes through, like that baby will go through.
Yeah, mom and dad, it's fucked, man.
Yeah,
It's one of those things where like you might have to go like on a 2-month retreat to zen your body before you procreate.
I don't think it's necessarily setting your children up to fail, though. Because I think it's whoever gets through that bubble. It can't last forever, right? Either it overtakes your life or you beat it. So it's you get to choose what you want to do with that.
It's
To
funny
an
you
extent.
brought that up like that. It's like some of the studies show that a better treatment than antipsychotics or antidepressants is no treatment. Literally just no treatment. Let the person go back to living.
Yeah.
I think that it's really just strange that someone can have a horrible trauma. Like I don't want to pontificate on those sorts of things, but something really bad can happen to someone, and anyone around them can have the reaction that, oh, you might be depressed, you need a pill. Like, bro, they went through something horrible. They're not supposed to be good right now.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
it's like... Sorry, Mickey.
no. You go ahead. You make your point.
I was just gonna say that's like having a headache every day for years and years, and just taking like 2 extra strength Tylenol for like 7 years straight. It's just like putting a Band-Aid over it. That's how I feel. I've heard it helps, but like I don't know. That's just my own personal opinion on it. My view.
And people who say stuff like that, that's just putting a nasty stigma on it too.
Mm-hmm.
Which we will touch on later.
Well, and that's so I mentioned it, and it sounded way better when I said it last time. I don't know where the fuck I got it from, but that depression and anxiety and the like are not, in fact, diseases in their own rights, but symptoms of excesses or lacks of things that are needed in the healthy human life. And I was like, damn, that sounded really good how I said it. Where the fuck did I get that from? Because I couldn't find it again. Yep. But I certainly didn't make that up. But that still makes a lot of fucking sense to me, you know? Like when enough good is subtracted or enough bad is added, you know, you cave eventually. And now we have depression or what have you. That just makes sense.
Yeah, it does, totally.
The next step, though, from going from invisible is those high functioning, who are high functioning and depressed. Yeah, there we go. So this one is actually much harder because it has to be. It's more of a because it actually is more so the person of the self than those around them, sort of thing, right? So, for everyone listening, I hope you're ready for this. Do you constantly feel like you are faking it? Do you have to prove you're struggling and need help? Good days are relatively normal. Bad days, unbearable. Struggle to focus and still feel you're not performing your best? Forced smiles and laughter exhaust you? These are the sort of symptoms that you may not even understand that you're experiencing as a high-functioning depressed person.
You know what's weird? I experience all of those, but it's like when I'm working, it's just my lack of confidence and stuff, and I get high anxiety every day at work.
Yeah.
Still, but I already knew that. Like I know why that's causing it, so I'm like working through that myself. Like, you know, and it's gotten a lot better.
And I'm glad.
But I'm aware. Yeah.
You know what's causing high anxiety?
Yeah, it's just my deep, dark. It's not even dark, but just like deep-rooted fear of making a mistake. You know, just little things about my personality that I know that are like when I'm working on a really nice home and installing something. Like the last thing I want to do is make a mistake. I don't even like making a mistake. Like you know what I mean. So I just get really, really, really nervous about, and I forget to like how to do things sometimes. It's weird, but like I said, it's getting a lot better. So, but I already knew that going into it, and that's kind of why I wanted this job, was to challenge myself at that as well, and grow out of that, because I don't want to be in that zone anymore.
Very good.
But yeah, that's weird, Mickey, that you said all that. I guess it's not weird, but.
I mean, like, a couple of those hit home for me, man. Like, there have been times where when I was at work, I fucking just forced those smiles and laughs, man. It hurts.
Yeah. I guess not really this. Sorry, I just yawned like a madman there. Not really like the forcing smiles and laughs, because I genuinely have a good day most days. So it's just all like the focus and anxiety and shit like that. So.
I see. Mine was more so just, I'm having a bad day and I don't want people to bother me about it, so I just fight through it. How about you, Fresh? Any of those kind of hit home for you?
Yeah, all of them, bro. I don't know. I've been making a lot of efforts in the last couple years, really, to make my own inroads, so I don't have to live like that. Even just things like, you know, telling work, I can't do this position anymore. If you continue to leave me in this position, you know, thank you for the opportunity, but I will not be able to keep working here. And what did they do? They gave me a better job, and now I love my job.
That's fantastic, man. I'm very happy.
That's it, man.
Yeah, and I mean that's about as good as that kind of conflict resolution gets, but it applies to everything.
Yeah.
So
And I really wanted to just list that whole thing for everyone who's listening, because truly, like, as what's one of the things I do like about doing this show with you guys is I feel like sometimes we can educate people, and this is one of those things where, again,
Mickey, can I say one thing?
Absolutely.
We don't know anything.
No. But this is like kind of like verbatim from like health, mental health websites.
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about?
Saying we're not educating people, we don't know shit. No, and you're right, we're very much so. But particularly that list was from one of the plethora, many whatever health website, mental health websites that kind of help people get one step closer to getting the help that they need. But these were things that, again, high functioning. Someone who is depressed and high functioning, invisible symptoms, like these were just things like going, fuck, like these need to be said aloud so people can kind of go, I understand this a little bit better, or these are things that are happening to me, or people I'm very, I care very much about, and now we can kind of get them a little bit closer to getting the help that they need. That's
and since we're there, man, I'm just gonna bring it up. Like I was talking to Sierra on Lemon Soul. She had me on the other day, and we were just talking about how important it is to bring things up. And there were a couple things that I wanted to make sure I brought up where I had a platform, and as I do it on here all the time too. And then when you solicited questions, we actually were thanked from someone who said, like, this sort of thing is still really stigmatized in the country I live. So I appreciate that you guys talk about it. So there's absolutely value, even if it's just us bumbling our way through trying to understand the medical literature and the psychiatric literature, such as it is right now. There's still value to talking about it. So that's why we're doing this.
Yeah. It's very rewarding. And I do usually feel good at the end of episodes, especially like this.
Yes.
So, going a little bit further now, we were talking about the lack of access to a lot of these, more support-based help. It comes down to them pills. So, immediately I get mad because I think of Big Pharma and profiting off of people's pain and suffering and stuff like that. But here in Canada, a lot of our stuff is paid for. However, it costs Canadians in tax dollars $50 billion a year.
$50 billion for prescription
for mental health costs. It was very again, I was really upset, and again, I put my tinfoil hat on a little bit for a lot of this was just kind of like, it wouldn't say, oh, prescription this and personal support that, but again, like the thing is, Dr. Patrick Smith was saying, like it's not that it's not completely there, it's just it's very hard to access. But essentially, whatever government funded mental health that they're offering, it costs $50 billion per year, and 30% of that Canadians pay for out of pocket.
Wow. That's
okay, but I mean that's kind of the point of our whole system, right?
Absolutely. But the drug companies globally net profit on just antipsychotics, because remember in the last episode we talked about how people can become legitimately like psychotic depressed.
Yes.
$14.6 billion per year net on antipsychotics alone. So, and the reason I stuck with that one, mind you, was because people get to that point. The fact that they get to that point and they're profiting that much off of a point that shouldn't be happening, it made me mad.
What? Okay, when you say shouldn't be happening.
So, like, again, back to Dr. Patrick Smith, these are preventable issues. So the fact that they become psychotic depressed is the part that pisses me off, is because, so you're in a hospital, and again, and oh shit, I wish I wrote it down from the last episode, but it was what, 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 people who are admitted into hospital for depression become psychotic depressed?
Damn.
I was something, again, please pardon me if I'm wrong. I wish I wrote it down when I was listening to it, but it was to that effect. It was too many people who were admitted to hospital for depression were becoming psychotically depressed, and these guys are making $14.6 billion a year off of it.
Okay, well that's a good time to talk about something called akathisia. Have you guys heard of akathisia before?
I have
No.
not.
Akathisia. So akathisia is this feeling of, absolutely having to move. You kind of like jumping out of your skin type deal. But, we've all had that where we felt kind of antsy or whatever. It's nothing like that. Apparently it's subtle and it doesn't stop. And people literally die from this because they can't sleep until they've moved enough to the point of absolute exhaustion. And this is sometimes caused by antipsychotics. So
Fuck me.
These prescriptions are literally giving people this horrific condition. And then there's what's it called? Hold on. There's a further condition that akathisia brings on, and it is called, hold on a second, akathisia induced impulsivity. And so it essentially, that urge to move, that incessant urge to move, actually makes people do things they wouldn't ever normally do, and sometimes terrible things.
Oh my God.
There's some pretty gruesome stuff on the board, including one case of a guy who actually killed his kid.
Jesus.
It's so messed up, man.
Yeah, and he wasn't even convicted because the evidence of this having just been because of the meds that his medical doctor gave him was so strong. And I mean, that's rare. They don't normally condemn people like that, but
yeah,
like normally the dad would have just gone to jail, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's automatism. Automatism. It's a criminal defense, but yeah, that's what they would have used for that.
Right.
God fucking and geez, like you kind of even feel bad for the dad. Like he's now gonna live the rest of his fucking life going like, Jesus Christ, like what the fuck else am I gonna do? Oh my God. Oh, hold on.
Yeah.
I gotta calm down here.
Yeah. I not kinda. Like I really, really feel bad for that guy.
Oh man.
So I looked at a couple of common prescriptions.
Mm-hmm.
Things like Paxil, which is an SSRI, it's an antidepressant, and Abilify, which is for depression and anxiety. And one of the most interesting things I found was that the side effects include depression and anxiety.
Oh my goodness, you gotta love that.
And like I understand there's side effects with drugs, but like we can't even get rid of the thing that you're taking it for?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I have a headache. Here, take this. I have a worse headache. Oh yeah, it's a side effect.
Wow.
Okay, great.
One of the primary side effects when starting Abilify was suicidal thoughts. So you've got a depressed person, and you give them this drug, and in the first couple weeks, they get way, way, way worse. Why would anyone stick with that?
Well, why would anyone stick with that, first of all? And I don't know, maybe you can tell me that they do this, but do they just send them home, or are they under hospital care until they get over the suicidal thoughts?
Oh, that I don't know, because I don't...
Oh, let's be real. They send them home.
Well...
I was going to say, like, I can say a little bit from personal experience with somebody I know. That is actually indeed the case. They might keep you for a day or two, but then they send you right home.
Jesus.
Yeah. It's not fucking good.
They essentially give you psychosis when you wouldn't even normally have it.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Oh my God, that's so scary, dude. So another thing I found with Abilify, this 2014 study from, I was on this website called Drug Watch, and it essentially goes through, potential side effects and historical issues with certain treatments. This 2014 study found serious impulse control disorders. The associations So Abilify was associated with serious impulse control disorders, and the associations were significant, and the magnitude of the effects was very large. So things like gambling and hypersexuality. Like, can you imagine never giving a fuck about gambling, but you have depression, so you take this drug, and all of a sudden you lose your house?
Oh yeah, like, oh my god.
It sounds like I'm exaggerating, but that's the kind of stuff that happened to these people.
Yeah, that's insanity, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's like the worst thing that could possibly happen.
Yeah. Zoloft. Everybody knows Zoloft, right?
Everybody.
Causes an increase in suicidal thoughts, hallucinations, delusion, and also, again, this is a correlation, not necessarily a causation, but that correlation was with a 200% increase in autism if taken during pregnancy.
Huh.
Cool. Huh. And we give these things to people. They really have no idea what they do to people.
Or they do and they just don't care. Like, how can you not know?
Well, I think one of the reasons you don't know is because you've got cases where it works, right?
Fair. Okay.
If it didn't ever work, they wouldn't keep prescribing them. And I would assume, this is me going out on a good faith limb to the medical and psychiatric establishment, but I would assume that at least 51% of cases don't go horrifically wrong.
Well, I just sorry if you're not fully done your point, but
No, go ahead, bud.
Under legal pressure, Big Pharma was forced to disclose doctors' names and compensation, and the compensations totaled $320 million. Essentially, so this was actually mostly stateside, and I have it here. 1 second. This was 2018. There it is.
Okay.
And essentially, that conversation was, tell them to take this.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Okay. So here's a story. I was sitting in my GP's office. This was before I completely gave up faith with her. And, tiny little waiting room, whatever. It's all good. We're all kind of packed in there. This was before Corona time, so I didn't feel terribly threatened. And in walks this ridiculously hot woman in this, pencil skirt suit number and everything. And she's pulling a small suitcase, and behind her is this ridiculously hot man in like this sleek tapered suit and everything. And I'm like, it's me and frumpy grandma beside me. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now? And so they went to the window. They inquired if my doctor was available, which I thought that was very strange because you've come during patient hours. You walked into a full waiting room and then you ask if the doctor's available.
Yeah. A little weird.
Not that I would have been surprised if my doctor at that point dropped her stethoscope and walked out for lunch, but it was pretty bold either way.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So the receptionist clearly had enough. She's like, we told you no, we already have, I think the word she used was partner. She's like, we already have a partner. We don't need anything. And, essentially sent her off. But I had recently discovered at that time what these fucking drug pushers were. And so as they're walking out, this is what I mean. It was so fucking bold. These people just start talking about the next doctor they're going to go to and their quota for the day. I heard them say that. I'm just sitting in the office and I heard them say that. And I'm like, oh, that is horrific. It's like listening to police talk about speeding tickets. If someone's going 100 over, you should probably pull them over. But if you're manufacturing crime, you might be a piece of shit. If you're prescribing things to people who don't actually need it with zero regard for their safety, you might be a piece of shit. And they didn't give a fuck. No. It's scary, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's the sad reality of that whole industry. Honestly, I understand because there's a lot of money in it, right? Because everyone, to some degree, probably has a health issue. So no matter, there's money in it. But like,
Yeah.
why? Ah,
All
So-
about that dollar.
While we're here, what do you guys think about the kind of old wisdom that there's no money in a cure? Do you guys think that's true?
So,
what do you mean?
okay.
I'm speaking very, very generally. You know, the whole sort of like what you were just saying. It's like about keeping people sick so that you can keep treating them.
Oh yeah, okay.
Like, what
Mickey,
do you?
you can go.
What are your thoughts on that? Yeah.
I
Okay.
have
Oh,
thoughts,
oh,
but Mickey
okay,
was
well,
going, basically.
So it's I have like a yes and no. It's yes if they just keep you just the right amount of sick, or thinking that you're sick at all. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I have this problem. Here's a prescription, or I'll keep you on this for the rest of your fucking life. Or but I've always felt, with a healthy people, you have a healthy economy because they're buying, they're selling, they're doing everything that an economy needs to grow and be prosperous. But it just seems that, again, looking at the dark side of it, if it's there's more money in sickness than in health, it's the money is going to the wrong places essentially, and well, we've seen that happen time and time again.
It's like, what do you got?
Conspiracies, man. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, there's no money in a cure, man. That's 100% true.
Yeah.
There's how many 7.3 billion people on this planet. Think of all and people want reliability, right? Like, so a lot of people just rely on things, right? Like substances, or you and your weights, and
Whoa.
that's not a bad thing. You rely on
45
them.
pounds is always 45
Hey.
pounds.
You rely on them to keep you at a sane level of, it's like one of your vices. Like, sadly, right now, mine is smoking. You know what I'm talking about?
I realize this is self-serving because of the example you gave, but do you not think that there's a difference between a vice and a good habit?
I just think a vice is either a good habit or a bad habit that helps you mentally cope with stress or any kind of. That's the way I look at it. Because I would quit smoking or drinking or anything, doesn't mean that I would develop. I mean, by definition, I'm probably wrong, but this is just how I use the word. Right?
Okay. Well,
You know
I
what I'm saying?
appreciate that insight into your mind.
Yeah, it's your grip on your reality, a vice, right? This is just how I fucking look at that. But
that is
anyway.
Absolutely not what it means. But
I know.
I love it. I love it. It's that's how I'm gonna think of it now. It's your grip, like a vice.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You sit back, and when you do it, you things make sense for a bit. Anyway, there's a lot of profit in people relying on something, and so when you get them kicking on a prescription or whatever, yeah, you kind of want to keep. It's like Mickey just said, a good balance, so you're constantly making money, but you're not killing a bunch of people. So your other part of because healthcare is an economy. It's half the economy in itself, right? More in America, I guess, but it's a huge, profitable piece of the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
So why would you just want it to stop if you just could be yeah, here, you're cured, here you go. Oh, what's wrong with you? Oh, just swallow this 3 times a day. You're good.
It's so scary to think that, these people who have these professions that have our lives in their hands, I want to give, I want to extend that credit. I want to extend that charity to think that most of those people want to help people. And maybe that even is the case, but, they get fucking busy and bogged down, and, the healthcare system does have problems for sure. And they just end up over prescribing. Most people who are on one mental health medication are on more than one.
Mm-hmm.
More people have 2 than have 1.
Yeah.
I wish that I didn't think that, but then you just look at the numbers and you look what happens to people. How many people do you know? And again, not taking this away from anybody who's had positive experiences, and I'm not saying we know anything, but how many people do you guys know who took mental health medications and were yeah, I'm all better now?
Well, I only know one, and she is not better.
Maybe
Right.
maybe one.
Yeah, I know one guy, he took them till he got off them. He kind of got his life in order. But everybody else either like stayed on them and was like, this is just kind of life now, or was on them for a bit and was like, I got to get the fuck off this.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
no, then I know two, and one has bounced back. Sorry, I just remembered somebody.
Bless that person.
But we're looking at a 50-50 here. Again, very small number of two people, but still, like it's.
But
Fuck.
even anecdotally as a sample, you know what I mean? Like, so there's the three of us. None of us have ever taken antidepressants, and all of the people we know, which is like, I mean, that's at least 8 people right there.
Oh,
It was,
7.
I thought it was
7.
like 9, but yeah,
Oh,
you're
sorry.
right. At least 8.
Yeah.
And like my person is even like, it's like 2 people that I'm like 80% sure happened, right? I'm like, yeah, I think I know one person. It might not even be anyone really.
This might be complete bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All that to say, is there a better way?
Yes.
The real thing we wanted to fucking get to with this episode is like, okay, so there's all these things and we have no idea if they ever actually do anything good for people. What does?
If I may, if I know
If
where
I
you're going
may.
with this, one of the places I think we need to start first is stopping the stigmas attached to depression.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
absolutely agree with that, man. And that's why depression and all mental health conditions, you know, because especially
Absolutely.
if, as I posited earlier, those things are symptoms and not diseases in their own right, then what are you even bothered about? If a person has a broken leg, you don't be like, yeah, you got a broken leg, but don't talk about the pain though.
Yeah.
You know? You got a broken leg.
Yeah. So right off the bat, some of the harmful effects that, again, people, a lot of times we just don't know that we're doing it. But a lot of the some of the harmful effects is a reluctance to seek help or treatment.
yeah.
So you're keeping them from getting better. A lack of understanding by family members, friends, and coworkers. Fewer opportunities for work, school, or social activities because they also don't want to go out. Bullying and physical violence or harassment comes out of it. Again, because sometimes since they're stigmatized, they lash out. I'm assuming this is going to be a little bit more stateside, but also again it's here. Because of now that they need more help, health insurance doesn't adequately cover it. So now that's kind of like a part of actually plays into the stigmatization is like, yeah, we don't want to help,
Mhm.
and then a belief that you're never going to succeed at certain challenges, and that you can improve your situation. So that's just a little bit of what stigmatization does to these people. So one of the things, and once you kind of recognize that, and where we recognize that, or you as an individual who are realizing that you're being stigmatized, some of the steps you can take: get treatment. Just barrel past these fucks. Don't listen to them. Whether they be toxic or they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Get treatment.
Are the Mickey, when you say stigmatized, does this necessarily pertain to just the condition or also methods of treatment? Because I mean, we've discussed before how talk therapy, which I think can be massively beneficial to people, is really, really stigmatized. And I mean, that goes away a little bit every year,
Sure.
as more people become, or rather a greater population of the percentage becomes millennials and Gen Z. But it's still a strong prejudice.
And absolutely. Yeah, that does cover it. And I'm glad you brought that up because I definitely blew right past that. Yeah, absolutely. Even just the treatments alone are stigmatized. Another thing that you can do to cope, try not to let the stigma create self-doubt and shame. You're worth it. You shouldn't let those things create shame and self-doubt within you.
Be happy with yourself.
Be happy with yourself. Don't isolate yourself. Don't equate yourself with your illness. You are not your illness. I remember when I first would hear that things, I was almost like, yeah, no fucking duh. And now the more that is coming out and stuff like that, I'm like, fuck, I've done shit like that before too. Where like you define somebody by their illness, right? Again, you don't think it's harmful, but it hurts.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, if reducing any, ridiculously complex creature such as a human being to one thing, especially one bad thing about them,
yeah,
that's terrible. That's
Absolutely.
fucking terrible.
Join a support group. Yeah, there's a lot out there. Honestly, literally, support group for blank into your Google search, and something will come up. You can get help at school. A lot of schools these days have these, whether or not they're amazing, but they're very open and accepting programs now for you to go seek help. I remember even at St. Clair College, and a couple of my own classmates, they took full advantage of it. And I'm happy to say no one really ever gave them shit for it too. Like, there was no stigma for them. And for those of us who are not affected by the stigma, and even those who are, speak out against it. When you see it, speak against it. Don't just and again, you don't have to jump down their fucking throats, but just go, hey. Those are hurtful things you're saying, and you might want to, be a little more careful at when and where and whom you say those things to.
Well, then let me say my piece, because
Yes.
I think stigmas are, they can be insidious and subtle, but I think they can also be aggressive and bold. And I fucking hate that shit because, for me, I can't help but reduce so many things to like, oh, what could I have not done if I wasn't dealing with this shit? And that's how I think about a lot of my mental health history. If I wasn't suffering, I could have, made more money or made more friends or pursued something. It doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. But it's still true that I could have done those things, even if that's not really the point of good mental health.
Yep.
But it makes me want to fucking rage to hear people dogging on that shit. And even when I was like not super sold on therapy, I still didn't rip on people for it because like it's someone trying to get help for something. And anybody who would trash somebody for that, like fuck you.
No, absolutely.
Fuck you. We don't want to hear.
Well, and the big thing is whether it be more like an effect or just kind of like a side effect of the stigma, and the people who are perpetrate it, it creates fear and misunderstanding, which leads to prejudice against these people.
Right.
And they have that much harder of a fucking time. Now, we do have laws in place that protect people for that. You know what I mean? Like, I think whether we've talked about it in our law episode or not, or I've just said it just happenstance in another episode. But like, when I was at my worst for my drinking, they couldn't fire me because of my drinking. That was a legitimate, to one degree, disability, and I can't be fired for it. They have to help me get help. But anyways, but yeah, it leads to like the whole Star Wars thing. Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering.
Here, can I say one thing about the stigmatization?
Sure.
Can you? No.
I'm not allowed to? Why?
Because I've stigmatized you.
Perfect.
No, of course. Go ahead. Man.
How do you destigmatize this all very quick?
Education.
Yeah, that's free. Free shit.
Well,
Just
actually,
make
you know
it
what?
free shit. Like,
You know what?
okay, what?
Okay, no, go ahead. Because I was talking about this with a coworker, and we were having it's a little bit off the rails, so please excuse me on this, but this was really, really interesting. We were talking about how they want to take out certain literature from schools because of the racist words they may say in them. Great example: To Kill a Mockingbird.
Okay.
So I have some issues with that. Like, it's a very educational tool. It talks about why it's not okay to say those things and why it's bad to be prejudiced and stuff like that. And her response was, do you really think that's that an English class is the place for that.
Okay.
Why not in social studies? Why not in your civics class and these other classes that you like? Because I remember, if I remember anything from social studies, it was nope, I got nothing. I don't remember shit from social studies. But
Oh.
wouldn't that be an excellent place to do it? So you said like with education, why don't we have a little more system in place in social studies in how to be not that?
Are you trying to piss me off?
No, okay, no, please, throw something my way, because I just thought that was because for me, it did kind of make sense. Like, why should English class be a? I don't know. No, go ahead. Please explain what was wrong with that conversation.
Well, I'll confess that I took some of that a little bit personally, because most of the good things that I've learned about life come from stories, and English is, not just how to write resumes. It's about stories and how to tell them and how to read them and how to learn from them. And that's kind of the whole fucking point. So that's why we use things like analogies to explain stuff, because it takes something that you might not understand and puts it in a form that you can. When you tell something as a story, somebody might get something in a way that they wouldn't if you just told them in a cold, factual way.
Okay.
And social studies can't do that. It can't. It's not. There's nothing broken about social studies in that regard. It's just not what it's for.
So then there needs to be a broader understanding or an expansion of what
There needs to be a new
should
class.
be taking in English class. Like how is this English class going to teach you and educate you, sort of thing?
Honestly, I think there needs to just be a fucking mental health class.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah, I like that too.
When we, needs to be,
we have. Go ahead, Slick. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. It was just leading to the point of what I was going to say was there would have to be a huge social and economic restructuring everywhere, down from schools and onward, because you just have to offer mental health help constantly to everyone.
And I guess it depends on the teacher a lot too, because I was actually just remembered.
Can I
yes.
jump in before you run
Please.
away, Mickey? I just want to get this out.
Yeah.
Because Slick set it up beautifully. There needs to be a large overhaul. And I mean, we talk this shit all the fucking time. Well, fix the system. But if any time was going to be for fixing the fucking system, when as few people as has ever happened since we've had the system are immersed in it, it would be right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're right.
This is when you look at what's broken, because no one's in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and,
pretty much.
Absolutely.
And I think that if we have something like gym class, which is ostensibly anyway to teach people about physical health, it's called phys ed, right?
Yeah.
Even though it really just teaches hockey bros how to be douchebags.
Yep.
Then we should have something for mental health, ment ed or such.
Ment ed.
Ment
you're
ed.
right. You should have to take the course 4 years in a row, standard course.
Yeah.
For your entire high school. And
because it really is just as important.
It's called philosophy, but they don't teach it here.
Dang.
There's studies on this, man.
Yeah.
Philosophy taught to younger kids opens more critical and logical thinking and humble ways of thinking and things like that.
Yeah. And I'd like to even give a big shout out to those teachers who take that extra step to put in those lessons where they can.
Yeah.
I can't recall why, but I had a teacher. It was my grade 5 teacher. She gave us all in our groups a piece of paper with I think it was 9 faces on it, and she said, "Which one of these people has Alzheimer's?" So this was an exercise. So she gave us 50. Oh yeah. But here, it gave us 10 minutes or so. So at the end of it, we all had an answer. Oh, it's number 6. It's number 2, and whatnot. And she goes, "Why? Why would you make that decision based on just how they look?" Teaching us essentially not to judge a book by their cover and just kind of going from there. Just taking that extra step in her day and her teaching curriculum to go, you can't do shit like this. You're going to be adults and contributing members of society, and you can't pass judgment on people without knowing anything about them. That was her message. That was from grade 5, and I still remember that.
I also feel like that should be, I mean, and I'm a parent, so I can kind of like speak on this, but like
Sure.
a parental job as well. When,
Sure.
You know, teach your kids not to be dickbags.
Absolutely.
It's pretty fucking simple.
That's
Yeah.
gospel.
Like, I have a child, and when she lies and, you know, acts snotty, she has a timeout. And, like, that's when, like, it doesn't matter. She can go and do, like, run around and do, but as soon as, like, she starts being rude
Yeah.
or, like, repeating things she's seen on TV or whatever it is, you know, kids do, right?
Yeah.
She hears it, and not always, like, it's not, like, stern or yelling. It's, like, I, like, get on eye level with her, and I explain why we don't say those things and stuff like that. It's, I don't know. I've always believed in that, like, teaching them why, as to, like, not just saying stop or, like, you know what I mean, but teaching them why, right?
Yeah, fuck yeah, man.
So if you like, I can wrap up the stigma a little bit here.
Yeah, we should keep the train rolling.
Yeah. So 7 things you can do to reduce stigma: educate yourself, be aware of your attitudes and behavior. You know what I mean? Like, just kind of pick up on your own self. Choose your words carefully. So I'm just watching you guys. So choose your words carefully, and one that I kind of like, that we kind of try to do: pass on the facts.
Yeah.
Pass on the facts, baby.
Focus on the positive.
I will pass on the facts. Thank you.
Pass on the facts. No, I don't need to know what you know. Focus on the positive. You know, mental illness, including addictions, are only part of everyone's larger picture. Support people and include everyone. Bring everyone to the table and let's fucking talk about this, right? And for those of you out there who are feeling depressed, and I found this on a kind of like a positive affirmation website. My God, that looks like it's like a dead animal on your head.
It's like, that looks just awesome.
But for everyone out there who has dealt with stigma on their mental illness, I found this little it's almost like a mantra, but I thought it was quite nice. If you're feeling depressed, remember that you can be beautiful and depressed. You can be stressful and depressed. You can be successful and depressed. You can be young and depressed. You can have everything going for you and still be depressed. I know that was bad, but the message is nice. I just fucked up the second line.
I love it, man. It's amazing. But you're right. It is right, though. You can be all those things and more and be depressed.
And more. It doesn't have to be you.
So like, alternative, why can't I think of the word right now?
Medicine, treatment,
I guess. Alternative treatments to this. What are some? Like, what do you know?
What do I know?
What does anyone know?
Okay, so I know everything anyone knows. That's what I know.
Exactly.
No, so I have my pet causes because I'm a big proponent of diet, meditation, and exercise, right?
Right.
And yes, I know, Mickey, fucking sleep. You should, I'll go on record right now. Everyone should get a good night's sleep most nights, okay? But we can't all sleep 11 hours a day.
Well,
Sure.
Then get good. I'm just kidding.
That's a fair point. You should also get good. Add it to that's my 5th one. Get good.
That's your 5th pillar?
Yeah. Okay. So, why does meditation help? Well, we know that it does. We know that for pretty much a certainty. But I wanted to sort of learn operationally, like, what is happening? How does meditation work? You know? Yeah, sure, it stops negative thought patterns, but what the fuck does that even mean? Like, literally, what's happening there? So I had to learn a little bit. So your amygdala, which is part of your prehistoric brain, it's one of the older areas of your brain, and controls your fight or flight response, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it triggers your adrenal glands and it triggers cortisol production, so the stress hormone, right? So the amygdala is in control of those things. While it is wired to what is called the medial prefrontal cortex, shorthanded to the me center, which controls decision making. So when you have a tight connection between your amygdala and your me center, this combines for, or can combine for, an obsessive focus on negatives. So, your fight or flight response is constantly engaged, you're constantly stressed, and your decision-making area of your brain chooses to, stay there. So you're tied and you're tied up. So meditation protects the brain. And studies have actually shown increased gray matter in the hippocampus, which is another part of the brain. And don't ask me where it is, but I just know it's a part of the brain.
I will not ask you where that is.
But operationally, it essentially breaks that connection between the amygdala and the medial prefrontal cortex. So the things that are combining to cause this, one of the things meditation can do for you is serve to sever them. So that they don't work necessarily so much together and aren't reliant, and they can work like they're supposed to in their own right. And I thought that was so fucking wild.
Yeah, but how does it just sever them?
Because what you do when you meditate, when you literally interrupt your thought patterns, that's what's happening.
Okay.
When it sounds strange, and it's one of the things that people don't really get about meditation, but what you do to your brain,
so
you can literally reprogram it.
So you're admitting that thoughts are things?
What are you trying to get from me here?
Just let me know if that's what you're saying. Are thoughts things?
Why? Are you gonna think the earth flat?
No. What the fuck? How did you reach that?
Because this feels like a setup.
No, this isn't a setup. I just want to know. I just want you on record saying that. Because 4 years ago, Fresh, it wouldn't say these things.
Well,
that thoughts are things?
Yeah. And meditation and stuff. Bro, remember when we first met and we were talking about meditation and stuff? You were like, no. No.
I don't. Did I? Is
really?
that what it was like?
Oh yeah, you didn't even want to bother with it for a minute. That's
well,
what I mean.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
But no, it's crazy.
It does. I guess it does fly in the face of kind of how I was living my life then, which Mickey remembers was just maximum stressed out all the time.
Yeah.
And I'll admit I contributed to some of that way too often.
How?
Dumping my drinks on cards.
Dude.
I'm just kidding.
No, you're a fucking goofball, and you could learn to answer a message better. But you're a good fucking friend, man.
Oh, thanks, man.
Shut up.
So our thoughts things, Fresh. I just want an answer.
I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say thoughts are things.
All right. Thoughts are things, man.
I will not argue you on
that.
No. But I'm not gonna set myself up for a fall in 11 years when you're like, oh, and remember, bitch.
Oh, come on. Just give me one. Give me one win. Fuck. Anyway, go on. That's really intriguing about meditation, though.
Yeah. And I have, since I've started getting into it, I've been a proponent of meditation. Apparently, according to you, I wasn't always.
Yeah, it was it was before you started working out and everything, dude.
Okay.
It was way back. Anyway, go on. Sorry.
All right. But yeah, and then there are more basic and understandable things, like it can help train your focus and level your emotional peaks and valleys and everything. And I certainly experienced both of those things. I love it. I think literally everybody should meditate,
Mm-hmm.
With rare exceptions. So that's one thing, and that's one thing that we can do. And it would be probably not a cure-all. Well, almost certainly not a cure-all, but it would be a very helpful piece of the puzzle, right? Of whole health. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What you said inspired me to think of this question. So, is there a way to meditate all of the time? So, if meditation's like, interrupting your thought patterns. Say you're like having a day at work and something negative happens and you're about to respond negatively, but you catch yourself and then you respond in a different way. Would that be considered like woke meditation or some shit?
Essentially, yes. So with the style of meditation I do, which is mindfulness, you're actively encouraged to do literally exactly what you said. Like the guided meditations I use, they say almost exactly what you just said, which is
Cool.
like, be mindful of changes around you through the day. And that's it. They don't say do everything differently. They just say be mindful of it. Because I think if you're trying to like change your life all at once, it gets a lot harder. But when you're just observing, you automatically become more neutral, and by that, then make better decisions, I think.
Yeah, 100%. No, I was just curious. Yeah. Okay.
So short answer, yes.
All right. Perfect.
I will say my road rage has gone down significantly since I started meditating.
Your roid rage?
My road rage.
Oh, I was going to say, those roids ain't working, man. They're not working.
No,
he's yet to get on cycle. We're going to get roid rage and Mickey.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Oh, yeah. Start ripping down brick walls.
Get pumped with the Pope.
Oh, we're going to call it a whole new workout plan. Getting pumped with the Pope. No, but when people cut me off, it was literally my day would be ruined. Now, every time I seem to be getting cut off more and more, again, maybe being more mindful of my surroundings, I just I get mad for a second, but I just come back. And if
you told me that you would be fucked up about like road rage incidents because you took it personally.
And I would do that too, absolutely.
Can I say something right now? Because this is a perfect low-key example of acting emotionally instead of logically. So, like, unless that person put you in complete danger, maybe almost death, causing an accident, something like that, there's, like, legit reason to be upset. But if nothing really happened and he just went faster than you and he went around you, in that situation, that is when you got to catch yourself. And maybe you've been doing this, Mickey, I don't know, but I just wanted to jump on this example. But that's when you got to catch yourself, right when you're about to react, and switch from an emotional reaction to a logical reaction and be like, whatever, man, that guy can just cruise. I'm just chilling, or switch it.
And that's how it's been now. It's been very excellent.
And the point you just made there, Slick. Congratulations, by the way, Mickey. But the point you just made there, Slick, is that literally our emotional brain, as it's wired, doesn't really serve us all that well on a day-to-day basis, because being reactive is just about never the answer.
Especially anger, because all anger is doing is creating like a superiority ladder, right? So like you're getting mad at that person because he or she or they, whatever, went faster than you. So they're superior in some sort of way right now. And you're getting mad because you just lost superiority over the task you were doing, right? Do you know what I mean? So your anger is trying to create your superiority. I can't say that word, man.
That's okay. I got you. It's a good point. So what does it mean? Because I gave that up when I was like 21 and didn't want to risk getting speeding tickets. So I've never been like, oh yeah, pass me, motherfucker. But what I absolutely love to do is pull up right beside that guy at the next light, just grinning, just like, hey man, what's going on?
Yeah.
What does that say about me? Am I just a douche?
No, I think that's like letting people know they're an asshole, just like humbly. You're not waving your finger out the window. You're not yelling, fuck, you're not causing a scene.
That's going to be the subtitle of my book. Letting people know they're an asshole.
Humbly. That's all it is. It's like if you're really relaxed in that situation and you can just drive up and like look at the guy and smile and like give him a thumbs up, whatever you do, like on a low key, that's just the win. That's the win.
That's the worst one. That's how you get a Chad angry instantly. Give
Oh,
him
yeah.
a thumbs up.
Just
Hey, keep
Or you
doing
give 'em
awful
the-
things.
a
Yeah.
little slow clap.
All right, enough about road rage. So, what about exercise? One of my other pet causes. I think this is another integral piece of a whole healthy picture. So, when we're not looking to treat specific conditions, but make you a healthy person on the whole, yeah, I think you should meditate. Okay, sure, but really, baseline, we're made for movement. And I hope nobody takes it as a creation analogy, because that's certainly not what I mean, but I'm going to speak it shorthand like that. We're supposed to move. Our bodies have all these joints and muscles to move us. Yeah.
Just
Slick's
like
getting after it. It's like breakdancing, but like fake breakdancing. It's fake dancing.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you're right. We were made to move, man. We got all this shit in us, and like obviously you feel bad when all you do is sit there. I've been there. I've been months on the couch, done nothing. Feel like
And
crap.
there's chemical reactions that play right into it that literally answer that question for you about like, oh, why am I so sad? But you know that if you do some physical activity, to what extent, obviously it varies for everyone, you're going to get endorphins and you're going to get dopamine and serotonin and shit like this that you won't get just sitting there. Like, your body's literally programmed to give you good things when you do this stuff, because sometimes it's hard.
Yeah,
so then
it's
you
called-
crave those rewards.
It's called a production line. Right? You produce it. Your body produces it, but you have to go through the process to get there. Right? That's what it is. And I totally agree with you. I mean, like you said, and I said, I mean, I just see it myself, man. Like, I know 100% when I've been sitting on the couch for a month, not doing pretty much anything, compared to like now when I'm outside 9 to 10 hours a day working physically every day. Like, I feel, even though I'm tired, I feel mentally so much better. Yeah. So I get that. And you probably feel good.
Yeah, dude.
Like-
That for me, this is the thing. I know I've kind of allowed myself to be stereotyped as a fucking gym bro, but I'm really the anti gym bro. I still don't know if I like working out, but I know that I have to do it because I'm a better person for it.
Right. Yeah. You like
So.
working. You're fine.
I probably do. But I'm not
Yeah.
sure. Sometimes I just like, I'll walk downstairs and I'm just like, fuck this. What
And
a
it's
waste
just-
of money. I could have
Yeah.
bought a PS5.
Hey, I look at it like with smokes like that too. It's just your vice, man.
Wow. Wow, you really let me fall for that, you son of a bitch.
You didn't want to admit thoughts are things, so I had to get you once.
I'm not giving you that.
Fuck. Anyway.
So, with what we were talking about with the amygdala, with meditation, and I actually mentioned this on our first episode, how they showed that literally taking a walk shuts down your flight or fight response.
Mhm.
I said it backwards, but whatever.
That's cool.
And it's the same mechanism. If you give that part of your brain something else to do, taking a walk, it has now avoided the decision between fight or flight, so you don't feel frantic or anxious, and the cortisol drops and things like that. In Japan, where they did some of these studies, they actually showed that daily walking correlates with like a 7% overall cortisol production drop, not just in times of stress, but overall in your whole body.
Oh,
That's fucking cool.
Yeah, man. It's amazing. And you just combo all these things, right?
Well, I mean, I personally do. Yes, absolutely.
No, but like, yeah, if you do, that's pretty much just self-treatment, right? So,
Yeah.
and then you pair it with nature. Because,
And that's the thing. Yeah, actually, that same study that I'm referencing said the same thing. It's, when you add nature on it, it's like it supercharges it.
Yes, with all the sounds and just like the smells and everything that trigger things in your brain, actually like, decrease your blood pressure and all of that kind of shit. Like, there's physical things that happen in your body when you're out in nature for, I think, at least 20 minutes, they say. Usually starts like, sinking in. But yeah, so you pair it with physical exercise and mindfulness while you're doing the physical exercise outside. You're good, man. You're real good.
That sounds like a good day.
Yeah. But so yeah, you got more?
Yeah, I do, but I wanna share this with you. The literature, such as it is so far, and while everybody knows you're supposed to exercise to be healthy, I mean, obviously we're talking about a different picture of health, but it doesn't actually show any difference between exercise and prescription medication or behavioral therapy. But I thought that was very, very interesting because if your options are take a drug that's going to potentially do something horrible to you, and let's be honest, there's no real informed consent on these prescriptions, right? They just say, here, you're sad, here.
Yeah.
So you take a drug with nothing but question marks in the future, or you do talk therapy, which I am massively supportive of, but can be prohibitively expensive, or you just exercise, which literally anyone can do for free.
Yep.
Why don't they do they should make a hybrid therapy, like talk and physical therapy. So you'd have your talking coach and then your physical coach. So you would essentially just get a personal trainer who would keep you in line. And it would feel like you have to do it because it's like a doctor ordered thing, right? And people react differently to that than going on their own free will and getting a trainer. They or just working out and be like, yeah, I'll skip today. Yeah, I'll skip today. But if you're prescribed it and you start going, it's kind of like taking medicine, right? Like you're gonna do it.
It sounds like an untapped market, sir.
Like a hybrid, yeah. I think because we have to remember that our minds and bodies are connected, right? So you have to treat each individually and together. You can't really just focus like a pill is focusing too heavily on one side. You're not taking care of the rest of what needs to be taken care of, like you said, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, that just jumped in my head.
No, I think that's a absolutely excellent idea, and maybe that would round out some of the edges for people to think of it in that way. Don't think of, if you can't think of exercise as something you want to do, and you can't think of exercise as something you have to do, would it help to perhaps think of it as taking your medicine? Because it is absolutely like that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
I think that should happen.
Yeah, so I mean, still, if the option is a walk in nature that's going to lower my heart rate and reduce my cortisol, and also I'll just get to be in nature because nature's fucking sick, or take a pill, I think I'll just go for a walk, bruh.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the best decision. Might take a little bit longer than a pill, but you know what? If you just that's the thing, is you gotta stick to it in order to get that constant response you want from it. You can't just go once every 3 months and be like, yeah, that was cool. It has to be regular. Yeah.
You need to make good habits, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, it's like you were talking yesterday about that nature piece and how you think it's a little bit more than just, a one-off Japanese study or something like that. And it might really have a lot to do with health and mental health, especially.
Yeah. Well, everyone just likes nature. Let's just put it like that. On the nice days in the summertime, every conservation area, it's packed, right? Everyone just likes being out there. Well, most people. So it's just common knowledge that we have this desire to kind of be close to nature, yet we want to live far and disassociated with it in ways. That's kind of strange, and it causes an unsettling of the balance in life, right? Everything needs balance, moderation. You can't just pave the entire city and expect people to be happy with no greenery, right? You know what I'm trying to say here? So
yeah, absolutely. I know that you're talking about Windsor.
Yeah, well, a lot of cities. I mean, it's getting better, but back in the day, that's pretty much what they did, in the first. But so now you got greenscapes and stuff. So obviously, people like a connection with nature, but I don't feel like it's enough. We're just kind of on we use it more as a tourist thing, but really it should just be an everyday life thing in everyone's life. So like the places you live, you should be able to walk down the street, and you can do here for the most part. It's pretty, green and stuff, but specifically in urban areas, it should be just greenified because it's just gonna, boost everything and everyone, boost everyone's mood really. That's like a given thing for me anyway, that I've always just thought in my brain. Like I've always felt better. I've noticed people feeling better. People who I veer towards, they love that kind of thing. Like one of my good buddies right now is just has an insane garden. Like he's doing so well, but he's always out there every day because that hobby kind of got him into nature. I notice he's like just thinking better and staying on top of things more because he's like looking forward to being out there. So like I can see improvements in other people's lives through being in constant connection with nature.
Wow.
It's just very evident that like that's the way it probably should go, especially in like prescription wise, like in the medical field, not just like as a holistic thing or a natural remedy, right? Like this shit should be medically looked at because there are studies that from Harvard, right? Like I looked into this, and there is a study from Harvard that proves like the sounds, the sights, the smells, they lower your blood pressure, and they like reduce all the stress levels and all the words I don't understand. You know what I mean? But pretty much they just erase that for the time you're out there. So there's something there, and it probably should be looked at more than it is because I think more people than we know have a mental health issue of some degree. Probably everyone. For the
Yeah. Yeah, unless someone
deduction of it.
has been over their shit, I'm sure most people have some kind of something.
Right?
Yeah.
And it should be, this shit, like you said, it should be taught in schools. But, like, that's why, I don't know, I think nature is the most important piece to this puzzle. It helped me. I've seen it help friends. I've just seen firsthand too many success stories or, like, just successful small stories to not be sold on it. Like, I mean, I live for it. Well, not really. Lately, I've been trying to just like adjust to work, really. But before that, I was out every day. Like, I love that shit, man. It just makes me feel like I'm in my zone. So, but like statistically though, like I didn't find too many like crazy numbers. You know what I mean? There's no like crazy numbers on it. It's just like, yeah, this helps. Blah 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 blah. Small paragraph, and then like 2 other paragraphs about nothing really.
You can see how it would be a very difficult thing to study because you have to get all these people to not do any other treatment. To do that, then to have a control group of people who are just living.
Yeah,
and all of these people have to report back to you. I don't know. I can see how that would be hard to do.
Yeah, it would definitely be a hard study because there's no like. That's what I mean. Scientific like number proof, like in a brain, like in your pill system shit. You can at least see what it does, see what people do, how it reacts, like.
But I did see one where they measured. Oh fuck. I don't know if it was heart rate. They measured some shit, and the shit got better when people just literally just looked out a window at green spaces.
Yeah.
So
there you go. Like, it's fucking common sense, man. It's fucking
I didn't write that one down, and I realized I kind of butchered explaining it, but fuck it.
Like no one looks at a sunset behind the mountain with a lake in the middle and says, man, that shit's ugly, right? Like everyone just like, yeah, it's beautiful. Doesn't matter if you've seen it 1,000 times on a postcard 1,000,000 times. If you're there and looking at it, you're like, that's fucking gorgeous. It's just the instinct we all have.
Yeah, some things don't need explanation.
Yeah, that's it.
For sure.
So, I don't know. That's my little piece on nature, man, because and the best way to do it is to try it out. If you're feeling like down the dumps, honestly, just go for an hour walk 3 times a week. Make that for a month and tell me you don't feel better. Simple. That's all you got to do. don't go on your phone and shit. Like,
Yeah,
if
leave
you're
it at home.
take pictures if you want. Like, that's
Or-
fine. But like, just take the time to be out there and to get away from the urban stimulation that's constantly on you. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's something else, you know, to throw back to our introverts and extroverts episode, like living in accordance with your desired measure of stimulation, you know, because that's what it all came down to when they deciphered introverts versus introverts versus extroverts. Fuck me. Was the responses to stimuli.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, people like you and me, it's like we are built for minimal stimuli because we're going to focus a lot on what comes across our path.
Yeah. It's probably why I hate concerts.
It's fair.
You don't like concerts. But, yep, 100%, man.
So, anyway, we are getting on there in time, and I've still got a fucking pile of other shit.
You know there's going to be a part 3.
There's going to have to be, because the one that I wanted to talk about and really focus on this time, we haven't even talked about really. Well, I did mention the gut microbiome, but the connection between, you know, essentially eating well and a healthy brain. And
well, there's an episode, bro.
That sounds like the title for the next episode. Absolutely.
Okay, like you guys are just tired. That's all.
No.
I'm exhausted.
I am good to keep going. Like, I'm all full of crazy energy right now from talking about this and just feeling better talking about it. You know.
Well, let me ask you this then, Mickey. You've been a little quiet for a while. What else did you want to hit today?
Well, honestly, I covered everything I had for today.
Okay.
I did chew up the first 45 minutes of this. Like, let's be honest.
and I had nothing, so I contributed more than I came in having. So I think I did a very good job today.
Fucking hell.
I wish you had done it with the chipmunk, Mike.
Oh man, I should have. It would have been way cooler. My voice sucks.
Little chip.
All right. Well, as my final thought, I'll go ahead and just give it here. I want to talk about current events with what's going on with people proposing to defund the police.
Okay.
And, you know, police budgets are fucking huge. They are offensively huge. They remind me of when I found out what universities spend on sports versus education. It's just... it makes any sane person ragingly mad. But there is a point to that, which is that we have either stripped away or never provided a lot of resources and support structures, to go back to what Mickey was talking about earlier. Some of those things just were never in place. And one of them was an understanding of mental health and, you know, its expression, both good and bad. So police are the first people to be called when there's a mental health issue, no matter what it is, violent or non. It doesn't matter. People call the police because who the fuck else do you call?
Ghostbusters.
You could call the Ghostbusters.
I learned that from a show that was, someone told me it was real.
It was real, man. Just like thoughts are things, it was real.
Perfect, man. That thought's a thing now.
But yeah, so police are the first to respond to mental health crises. And when you take 5 seconds to think about what that person might need, it's not a cop.
No, that is a horrible idea.
And again, let's be honest about this all. Cops are very poorly suited for that call because they are trained in, you know, what, subduing people, you know, in the law. Hopefully, I'm not entirely sure about that.
They're trained to deal with violent criminals, but
they're trained to deal with violent criminals, and you know, you hope that they can do that well and safely. But they're not trained to deal with mental health problems.
No.
And so it shouldn't fucking be on them. So I heard it phrased that instead of defunding the police, we should be worried about unburdening the police.
Mhm.
And that would, of course, come with defunding, absolutely, because that money and those efforts have to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a fucking really cool way to frame it. Like, did you know in the States, a mentally ill person is 16 times more likely to be killed by police?
Wow, that's disturbing.
That is fucked up. Like, for whatever reason, if this person does not have adequate control of their faculties, they might just die.
Yep.
What the fuck, man?
Not
It's
okay.
fucking crazy, man.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy, and it's not okay. So
You're right.
I really, really like that lens to view potential future change. Just like we're talking about with school curriculums,
Yep.
you know, budgets and things going forward. And I hope we can prioritize that, because, again, I don't think that physical health is just physical health and mental health is just mental health. I am very convinced that those two things are unseverable. They are as connected as anything else in the world could be. They're as connected as me, you, and Mickey.
And that is.
And that's for life.
We went through the Heart-On Collider together. So
We
we're
did go
pretty
through the Heart-On Collider.
Oh no.
But if I'm not mistaken, we did ask some questions to our lovely followers.
Yes, we did.
Yes. So, for all you who have participated, thank you very, very much. And we will now anonymously read your responses and the questions that were asked of you. So, right off the bat, what are your thoughts on holistic versus medical treatments? Our first response was, I think different things work for different people. I also don't believe everyone needs medicine. Kind of the consensus that we had earlier.
Sure.
Holistic life is the goal, but I'm glad meds exist for severe cases. We had one that was a little more to the holistic side. Less chemicals in your body, the better. Was an answer. And final one was medical. A temporary Band-Aid, nothing wrong with that. Holistic, heal long term.
Yes. Yeah, so that's
quite
the same
nice.
thing I was saying there.
Yeah. Our next question was, how has talk therapy helped your depression/mental health? We only got, sadly, one response for that, but that's okay, guys. I understand this is going to be a little bit of a hard topic to talk about. Subliminal things that affected me were brought to the surface, hard but worth it. And I very much thank that person for sharing that one, because I think there's going to be a time in my life where I may need to seek that, just kind of keep my head on straight, and it's good to hear that they had such a positive response from it. So, next question was, what has worked for you that you would recommend to others battling depression? And this one we got a lot from people. Cycling, fly fishing, trees, water, and animals, nature. That was all from one person. It's quite nice. Another person said working out, talking to friends, journaling, honesty with self and others, and asking for help.
Yeah.
Another person said exercise and eat healthy, as we know, and a lot of times this is starting in the gut now. The more we learn. Another person said talk with someone you trust, less sugar, and exercise. And finally, volunteering. Servicing others gives you purpose and perspective outside yourself.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah, perspective, man. That's a huge thing.
It is.
Next question. What holistic treatments have you tried? Got two answers on this one. I'll start with the less... I'll just start with exercise, meditation, yoga, and nature.
Perfect.
And something we can all do, masturbation.
Oh,
Wow, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you can get addicted to that too, so be careful.
You can't just, if you're
Hell
gonna
of a
do it,
road.
do it without porn. second last question. How has depression impacted your life outside of its immediate effects? So obviously the things that we talked about earlier about, weight gain and stuff like that. One person answered, lower overall quality of life, but not engaging family, friends, community, and also not sleeping well.
Yeah, see, I mean, I feel like that's the whole thing. Is it just you know how you were saying, Mickey, you can be successful and be depressed, or you can be healthy and be or whatever the fuck ever. But like, that's the thing, is it makes everything fucking suck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it truly does.
It's almost like you can't exist in reality and within society.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another person.
Dehinged, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
No,
okay. Fuck. That's a really good one. Yeah, I like that.
I've been there. Yeah.
Another person said trouble concentrating or making decisions, low energy and fatigue.
Yeah.
That's troubling. Making decisions,
yeah,
because there's just so many that you're gonna make poorly or what have you.
And look at that. That was explained by what we learned about the brain today. Yeah. Now you know why you struggle making decisions when you're depressed.
Yep.
That's fucking crazy to me. I don't know. I'm like, again, we say this all the time, but like, I'm excited about the logical way of looking at things, because I just learned a thing that will forever change how I understand this shit, so I don't have to do that wrong anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. It truly is.
I want to look into that more. Anyway, sorry, Mickey, go on.
No, that's all right. Another one of our lovely listeners ruined a lot of relationships, stopped me from attempting to achieve, and that is absolutely heartbreaking.
Yep, but very true. That is some personal, yeah.
Last person on this one, it has given me a greater sense of empathy and a stronger sense of boundaries.
Ooh,
that's
taking that silver lining approach.
Yeah, that's good. That's a real good one.
That's really fucking cool, eh? And I guess that's true. I guess that's true. When you go through it, you're like, oh, fuck, I don't wish this on anyone.
Yeah. Well, and actually, just a real quick thing, the sense of boundaries, though. For me, that kind of affected me in the sense of my constant, I don't know, maybe depression has something to do with it, but my empathetic side and not being able to distance myself with boundaries. That's kind of how it sounded to me, anyways.
I mean, that's fucking fascinating, but I'd have to think about that for an hour to have any kind of comment.
I think it relates both ways, but yeah, I agree with you, Mickey.
Well, maybe we'll talk about it next time. And then our final episode. Wow, excuse me. No, never. Just kidding. We're going forever, baby. We ain't never gonna stop. The final question was, what triggers depression for you? Right off the bat, I'm assuming this person is having quite a struggle with it, and by all means, please, we do hope you get help, but could be anything. That's heartbreaking, man. Or yes, pardon me, I can't really see on my phone here, but man, and if it is anything, I'm so sorry to hear that, and we're here for you. Shout out to you, man. Feel better. Be happy with yourself.
It's sad not even to know where to start. Yeah. That's heartbreaking. Yeah.
Yeah. Another person said anxiety, feeling hopeless, not eating enough in a day, and I sometimes get really depressed right after an intense happiness. My goodness. And finally, rejection. Other people suffering, and sometimes there is no trigger. It just is.
And that's the thing, right? That's the thing about, if this is actually just a symptom of a lot of other shit going on, there will be plenty of times where it doesn't feel like, oh shit, this happened, because you're just living like that.
Yep.
With a lot of things sub-optimized.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, like that was one of the symptoms I said from earlier. It was good days are just relatively normal, and that's kind of like it's like it's just a day like that. That's a good day. Like holy fuck. So yeah, that's it for those questions, and thank you very much everybody for
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. Right
Slick,
on.
you got any final thoughts on this one, bud?
Well, like Mickey said a moment ago, or maybe you said it. Well, one of you guys said it. Perspective is key. It honestly is, and you can create your own emotional well-being, your own emotional reality if you choose to, by being mindful in any given situation.
Right.
If you acknowledge the fact that you might be feeling some sort of way for the wrong reason, or if it's just a strictly emotional reaction, you can catch yourself and change it. And in turn, you can change the entire curve of like a day. Instead of letting something simple in the morning that would usually ruin your day, you just catch it quick and you curb it. And you just have a good day instead.
Dude, you totally just went Viktor Frankl on this whole thing. Yeah, have I gone on about Man's Search for Meaning to you guys?
No.
I don't believe you have.
So he's a doctor, a therapist. I mean, he's dead now, but he lived through Auschwitz.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah, and just saw the worst
just
horrors of the world.
Shit. Like yeah.
And he said that after that, and his book, his most famous book, is very, very short. It doesn't read like psychiatric literature or anything, but one of the key points that he brings up all the time is, there are points in your life where you are completely powerless. I mean, he's speaking from experience there. And you have nothing, and you feel like everything's been taken from you, but you always at least have the choice of how you're going to react to a situation.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, that's
it's what you make. It literally is what you make it.
And it's literally like that. If something's happened to you and you're put in a bad situation, that's not your fault. That doesn't define who you are.
Right.
So really, you need to, and it's easier said than done, but yeah, you got to make sure that you can separate those two things, because if you mix them, it can be dangerous. Anyway. Yeah, and people should go outside, go into nature, or just on a trail in a park, and literally like 20 minutes 3 times a week, minimum, and just do it. I don't care if you're already happy, just do it, and it'll be, it works, man. I swear to God, I put my life on that, and those are my final thoughts.
All right, I appreciate it, man. So, as anybody knows. Well, I hope anybody knows, but if you don't, you can find us at FreshLikeAMick on Instagram, FreshLikeAMick@gmail.com if you have questions, comments, ideas, or hate mail. We're on Facebook as well. We love to hear from you guys. We appreciate the feedback from everybody on this episode, especially being so candid on a sensitive topic. We're going to keep working to destigmatize any concerns around mental health, because we're just 3 dudes doing our fucking best. But we're going to do what the fuck we can. So that's my final words. And I hope everybody has a great day. Get some help if you need it. If you just want to listen, you just need somebody to listen, you want to talk, I'm here too. So otherwise, be happy with yourself, my friends.